What if the procedure meant to make someone look younger became the moment that changed their face forever? How many celebrities chased beauty only to lose the very features that made them famous? Behind glamorous red carpets and magazine covers are stories of painful complications, public regret, and transformations that shocked millions of fans. Stay until the end as we uncover dramatic before and after journeys that reveal the hidden cost of chasing perfection in Hollywood. What if a treatment advertised as quick, simple, and non-invasive left you hiding from the world instead of stepping confidently into it? Linda Evangelista was one of the defining supermodels of the 1990s, appearing on hundreds of magazine covers and working with the fashion industry's biggest names. Then, almost without explanation, she disappeared from public life, leaving many fans wondering why one of fashion's brightest stars had suddenly vanished. The source material explains that Evangelista later revealed she had developed paradoxical adipose hyperplasia after undergoing cool sculpting treatments. Instead of reducing fat as expected, the rare complication caused treated areas to enlarge, leaving her physically changed and emotionally devastated. According to the source, she became withdrawn, struggled with depression, and avoided public appearances for years. In 2021, she publicly shared her experience and filed a lawsuit against the company behind the procedure, later reaching a settlement. Linda Evangelista's story reminds us that cosmetic treatments promoted as low risk can still produce life-changing consequences. Her decision to speak openly transformed private suffering into a public warning, encouraging others to understand both the potential benefits and the hidden risks behind modern aesthetic procedures. When does reinvention stop being a personal choice and become an expectation no one can escape? Katie Price built her career by constantly evolving in front of the public. From glamour modeling under the name Jordan to reality television, business ventures, and best-selling books, she remained one of Britain's most recognizable celebrities. Yet over time, her changing appearance began attracting as much attention as her professional achievements. The source material explains that Price openly discussed numerous cosmetic procedures, including breast augmentations, facelifts, Botox, lip fillers, and other enhancements. Rather than hiding those decisions, she frequently spoke about them in interviews. According to the source, some treatments failed to meet her expectations, and reports described doctors warning her against additional surgery because of growing health concerns. Even so, she continued pursuing cosmetic procedures while facing constant public criticism and media attention surrounding her appearance. Katie Price's story reminds us that fame can create a cycle that is difficult to escape. Public attention rewards dramatic transformations, then criticizes the same changes it once celebrated. Her experience illustrates how beauty standards, media pressure, and personal choice can become deeply connected, making every cosmetic decision part of a much larger public conversation. How do you build your own identity when the entire world keeps comparing you to one of the most famous families in entertainment? For LaToya Jackson, life in the spotlight meant far more than pursuing a singing career. As the sister of Michael and Janet Jackson, every public appearance invited comparisons that often overshadowed her own accomplishments. Eventually, discussions about her appearance became louder than conversations about her music or television work. The source material explains that LaToya developed a career as a singer, actress, author, and television personality during the 1980s. Over time, fans and media outlets increasingly speculated about changes to her face, including possible nose procedures, fillers, and other cosmetic treatments. According to the source, she never publicly explained every rumored procedure, leaving room for continued speculation and frequent comparisons with Michael Jackson's well-known transformation. The source frames those discussions as part of the intense pressure surrounding the Jackson family's public image. LaToya Jackson's story reminds us that growing up inside an internationally famous family can create expectations few people fully understand. Behind every headline stood a woman trying to establish her own identity while carrying the weight of constant public comparison and extraordinary media attention. What happens when the woman defining beauty standards becomes one of the people most intensely judged by them? After the death of her brother Gianni Versace, Donatella Versace stepped forward as the creative force behind one of the world's most influential fashion houses. While her work shaped global trends, public attention increasingly shifted from her collections to the changes in her own appearance. The source material explains that years of media coverage fueled speculation about fillers, Botox, and other cosmetic procedures. However, it also notes that Donatella did not publicly explain every visible change, allowing rumors to grow with each public appearance. According to the source, discussions surrounding her appearance reflected the intense expectations placed on women working in an industry built around youth, glamour, and perfection. Despite constant criticism, she continued leading Versace, overseeing major fashion collections and protecting the legacy created by her family. Donatella Versace's story reminds us that beauty can become both a profession and a burden. The same fashion world that celebrates flawless images often judges the people responsible for creating them. Her experience illustrates how success, grief, public pressure, and constant scrutiny can become inseparable in a career lived under the spotlight. What if the most important transformation of your life had nothing to do with looking younger at all? Before the world knew her as Caitlyn Jenner, she had already achieved international fame as an Olympic gold medalist and later became a familiar television personality. Yet despite decades of public recognition, she continued carrying a deeply personal truth that remained hidden from millions of people until 2015. The source material explains that Jenner's widely discussed transformation included facial feminization procedures and other cosmetic work as part of her gender transition. Unlike many celebrities featured in cosmetic surgery stories, these procedures were not presented as attempts to reverse aging or chase unrealistic beauty standards. Instead, they reflected her desire for her outward appearance to align with her gender identity. According to the source, public reactions were deeply divided, with some praising her honesty while others focused heavily on criticizing her appearance. Caitlyn Jenner's story reminds us that not every cosmetic transformation begins with vanity or regret. Sometimes medical procedures represent a deeply personal journey toward authenticity rather than an attempt to preserve youth. Her experience illustrates how public attention can quickly shift from understanding a person's story to judging every visible change they make. What if the cosmetic procedure that made you instantly recognizable also became the one decision you could never completely undo? For Lisa Rinna, her lips became almost as famous as her acting career. Whether audiences watched her on Days of Our Lives, Melrose Place, or reality television, her appearance quickly became part of her public identity. Yet the feature that helped distinguish her from countless other celebrities eventually brought years of criticism and regret. The source material explains that Rinna received silicone lip injections while still in her 20s, expecting a lasting enhancement. Unlike modern fillers, however, the silicone remained in place for decades. Over time, scar tissue developed, changing the shape of her lips in ways she could no longer control. According to the source, she later underwent corrective surgery to reduce the damage, although she acknowledged the original procedure could never be completely reversed. Despite constant public comments and comparisons with older photographs, Rinna openly discussed her experience rather than avoiding the subject. Lisa Rinna's story reminds us that even a seemingly small cosmetic decision can produce lifelong consequences. Her willingness to speak honestly about the risks transformed personal regret into a valuable lesson about careful choices and realistic expectations. When does the public stop talking about an actor's talent and begin judging every change in their appearance instead? For Joan Van Ark, That shift became one of the most difficult parts of growing older in Hollywood. Best known for portraying Valine Ewing in Knots Landing and Dallas, she spent decades earning respect through memorable performances. Yet later in life, conversations surrounding her career were increasingly replaced by discussions about how different she looked. The source material explains that public speculation focused on possible facelifts, eyelid procedures, fillers, and skin treatments, although Van Ark never publicly confirmed every rumored cosmetic procedure. As photographs from later appearances circulated online, many headlines concentrated more on her changing features than on the decades of work that had established her reputation. According to the source, the criticism reflected a broader pattern in Hollywood, where women often face judgment both for aging naturally and for attempting cosmetic enhancement. Joan Van Ark's story reminds us that public opinion can sometimes become harsher than the aging process itself. Behind every comparison photograph stands an accomplished actress whose lasting contribution to television deserves far more attention than endless debates about her appearance. What happens when confidence slowly gives way to insecurity under a spotlight that never stops judging? Lil' Kim transformed hip-hop with fearless lyrics, bold fashion, and an unmistakable stage presence. During the 1990s, she became one of rap's most influential female artists, admired for her originality and unapologetic attitude. Over time, however, public attention shifted away from her music and increasingly focused on the dramatic changes in her appearance. The source material explains that fans and media outlets speculated about nose procedures, skin treatments, fillers, and other cosmetic enhancements as her look evolved over the years. It also notes that Lil' Kim publicly discussed struggles with insecurity and the pressure created by harsh beauty standards. According to the source, criticism surrounding her appearance often overshadowed her musical achievements, reducing decades of artistic influence to endless before and after comparisons and online commentary. Lil' Kim's story reminds us that fame can magnify personal insecurity instead of easing it. Behind the headlines stood an artist whose influence on hip-hop remains undeniable. Her experience illustrates how relentless public judgment can reshape not only a celebrity's appearance, but also the conversation surrounding an extraordinary career built on talent, determination, and cultural impact. What happens when the pursuit of youth slowly begins to erase the very features audiences once loved? Melanie Griffith built her Hollywood career on warmth, vulnerability, and an unmistakable screen presence. In films such as Working Girl, her natural expressions and approachable charm helped make her one of the industry's most recognizable actresses. As the years passed, however, public attention shifted away from her performances and increasingly focused on the visible changes in her face. The source material explains that during the late 1990s and 2000s, Griffith became widely associated with Botox, fillers, and other facial procedures. According to the source, she later acknowledged that some cosmetic treatments had gone too far and admitted she did not fully realize how different she looked until people around her pointed it out. She eventually sought corrective work after recognizing that certain procedures had altered the natural appearance audiences remembered. Melanie Griffith's story reminds us that Hollywood's pressure to remain youthful can affect even the most accomplished performers. Her willingness to speak honestly about regret transformed personal experience into a broader lesson about beauty standards, aging, and the importance of knowing when cosmetic enhancement begins changing more than appearance alone. What if millions of people watched your cosmetic transformation while it was happening? Bridget Nielsen had already built an international career through films such as Red Sonja and Rocky IV, earning recognition for her striking height and commanding screen presence. Unlike many celebrities who quietly underwent cosmetic procedures, Nielsen allowed cameras to document parts of her journey, making deeply personal decisions part of public entertainment. The source material explains that Nielsen underwent a series of cosmetic procedures associated with facial rejuvenation and body contouring, with the process featured on television. According to the source, public reaction was divided. Some viewers admired her openness and viewed the experience as an expression of personal choice, while others believed the procedures changed the distinctive facial features that had made her instantly recognizable. Despite the criticism, Nielsen continued appearing on television and remained open about her desire to maintain her appearance as she grew older. Brigitte Nielsen's story reminds us that cosmetic surgery can become far more complicated when performed under constant public attention. Her experience illustrates the difficult balance between personal freedom, media expectations, and the pressure celebrities face to remain visible in an entertainment industry that rarely stops judging appearance. What happens when the smile audiences loved begins to look different after years of trying to slow the aging process? Suzanne Somers became a television icon through her role as Chrissy Snow on Three's Company, where her bright personality and natural expressions made her instantly recognizable. As time passed, however, conversations about her career were increasingly replaced by public discussions surrounding her changing appearance. The source material explains that Somers became closely associated with anti-aging treatments, hormone therapy, supplements, and beauty routines. It also notes widespread public speculation about Botox, fillers, and other cosmetic procedures, with many observers pointing to a smoother forehead, fuller lips, and tighter facial features. According to the source, these visible changes led some longtime fans to feel that the natural warmth and expressive qualities they remembered had gradually become less noticeable. Suzanne Somers' story reminds us that the desire to age gracefully can sometimes create unexpected public scrutiny. While she remained committed to promoting health, beauty, and longevity, her experience also illustrates how Hollywood's relentless focus on youthful appearance can overshadow decades of talent, success, and the genuine qualities that first made an actress beloved by audiences. What happens when the natural expressions that made someone unforgettable become the focus of endless cosmetic speculation? Goldie Hawn charmed audiences for decades with her bright smile, playful energy, and effortless performances in films including Private Benjamin, Overboard, and The First Wives Club. Her appeal came from warmth and spontaneity, qualities that made her one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses. As she grew older, however, public attention gradually shifted from her career to discussions about her appearance. The source material explains that fans and media commentators speculated about Botox, fillers, and possible facial procedures after noticing smoother skin, fuller facial features, and a tighter appearance. According to the source, these visible changes led some longtime viewers to feel that the lively facial expressions they remembered had become less natural. At the same time, the source notes that Hawn continued speaking positively about aging while remaining active and confident in public life. Goldie Hawn's story reminds us that growing older in Hollywood often brings impossible expectations. Her experience illustrates how actresses can face criticism whether they embrace natural aging or attempt cosmetic enhancement, leaving public judgment as one of the industry's most enduring challenges. What happens when your appearance becomes almost as famous as your voice? Dolly Parton built one of country music's greatest careers through unforgettable songs, remarkable songwriting, and an unmistakable personality. From Jolene to 9 to 5, she became an international image whose glamorous image was carefully crafted alongside her music. As the years passed, maintaining that familiar look became an important part of the public's expectations. The source material explains that Parton has openly discussed cosmetic procedures and has never hidden her interest in maintaining her appearance. Reports and interviews referenced in the source associate her with facelifts, eyelid surgery, Botox, and other enhancements that helped preserve her signature style. Rather than denying cosmetic work, she often approached the subject with humor, treating glamour as part of her stage persona instead of something to apologize for. Even so, the source notes that years of cosmetic enhancement gradually changed the natural appearance audiences remembered from her early career. Dolly Parton's story reminds us that celebrity image can become inseparable from professional identity. Her experience illustrates how maintaining an iconic public appearance may involve personal choices, public expectations, and the constant pressure to preserve a legendary image while continuing to perform for generations of devoted fans. What happens when a career built on beauty becomes a lifelong battle against time? Janice Dickinson rose to fame as one of fashion's most recognizable models, becoming known for her bold personality and unforgettable confidence. For years, cameras celebrated the striking features that helped define her career. As she grew older, however, cosmetic surgery gradually became almost as widely discussed as her accomplishments in the modeling world. The source material explains that Dickinson openly discussed numerous cosmetic procedures, including breast augmentation, facelifts, Botox, fillers, and later corrective treatments. Unlike many celebrities who avoided the subject, she frequently acknowledged her surgeries in interviews and television appearances. According to the source, some procedures failed to produce the results she hoped for, eventually leading her to seek additional corrective work. Public attention increasingly focused on before and after photographs, often overshadowing the remarkable modeling career that first made her famous. Janice Dickinson's story reminds us that maintaining an image can become an exhausting responsibility. Her experience illustrates how an industry that rewards youth and perfection can also create relentless pressure to keep changing. Behind every cosmetic procedure stood a woman determined to remain visible in a profession that rarely accepts growing older. What if one small cosmetic procedure changed the face millions of fans had loved for decades? Kenny Rogers became one of country music's greatest legends through timeless songs such as The Gambler, Lady, and Islands in the Stream. His warm smile, kind eyes, and familiar appearance helped create a connection with audiences that lasted for generations. Later in life, however, one cosmetic decision unexpectedly became one of the most talked-about chapters of his career. The source material explains that Rogers publicly acknowledged undergoing cosmetic surgery around his eyes in hopes of looking younger on camera. According to the source, the procedure altered the natural shape and expression of his eyes, leaving him dissatisfied with the outcome. Rogers later admitted he regretted the decision, while many longtime fans felt the change affected the warmth and sincerity that had always been part of his public image. Rather than hiding his disappointment, he openly discussed the experience in later interviews. Kenny Rogers' story reminds us that even modest cosmetic procedures can produce unexpected results. His experience illustrates how the desire to preserve a familiar image can sometimes alter the very qualities audiences cherished most throughout an extraordinary career. What if the surgeries meant to repair your face became the reason millions no longer recognized it? During the 1980s, Mickey Rourke was considered one of Hollywood's most charismatic leading men, earning acclaim through films such as 9½ Weeks, Angel Heart, and Diner. His rugged features and intense screen presence made him unforgettable. But after stepping away from acting to pursue professional boxing, his appearance changed in ways that few fans expected. The source material explains that Rourke suffered multiple facial injuries while boxing, leading him to undergo reconstructive surgery on his nose and cheekbones. According to the source, he later admitted choosing the wrong surgeon, and the procedures failed to produce the results he had hoped for. Instead of restoring his appearance, additional operations gradually altered the face audiences remembered. Public attention shifted from his acting to constant comparisons between earlier and later photographs, often overlooking the injuries that had made reconstruction necessary. Mickey Rourke's story reminds us that not every dramatic transformation begins with vanity. His experience illustrates how reconstructive surgery, unexpected complications, and relentless public judgment can permanently reshape both a person's appearance and the way their career is remembered. Behind every dramatic transformation was a personal decision shaped by hope, pressure, or the desire to hold on to youth just a little longer. Some celebrities embraced the results, while others lived with lasting regret. Which transformation surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable Hollywood stories. Thanks for watching.